Ladies and gentlemen, IFRA members and guests, good afternoon and welcome again to the Global Fragrance Summit. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Shaima Ali Ahmadi and I'm the Public Affairs and Sustainability Manager for the region Europe at IFRA. For the coming few minutes, I will take you on a deep dive into a topic that you may have heard several times during this event and even more since the past few years. The topic in question is Safe and Sustainable by Design, SSBD. I have prepared a short presentation for you here. Believe me, it is brief. Blink an eye and you'll already miss it. So the European Green Deal, and who never heard of the European Green Deal, the EU strategy which was introduced by the European Commission back in 2019. A key commitment of the European Green Deal was the zero pollution ambition for a toxic-free environment. In 2020, and as an attempt to fulfill the zero pollution ambition, the European Commission published the Chemical Strategy for Sustainability, the CSS. The CSS had as a priority to prevent toxic chemicals from being included in products at the design stage rather than controlling them once they are on the market. This priority was called Safe and Sustainable by Design, SSBD. In December 2022, the Commission published recommendation establishing a European assessment framework for safe and sustainable by design chemicals and materials. This framework is currently going through a testing period until December 2024. So what is SSBD? The CSS definition of SSBD is quite long, but it can be abbreviated as a pre-market approach that focuses on providing a function to chemicals while avoiding harm to human health and environment. Now, Europe already has quite a few regulations around chemical safety and product sustainability. What's new in SSBD is the combination of safety and sustainability in one approach and the focus on designing out the risk rather than managing it. The SSBD framework will support the development of SSBD criteria, which will include scoring systems, thresholds that will be developed based on the results obtained during this current testing period. The concept is catching on in the European Union as a way to proactively improve chemical products and processes. And there are signs that it may eventually become mandatory, especially because the SSBD concept is already present in future EU initiatives and upcoming legislation. This is a slide showing the timeline of the work done by the Commission around SSBD. So far, it's just the framework. Since then, the Commission have been engaging with the industry and encouraging case studies in a first testing period to get feedback about what works and doesn't work. A second testing period then started in 2024 with possible revisions to the framework to be proposed from 2025. The SSBD framework, it combines two phases that may be applied without any specific order. We have the design phase that provides guiding principles that support the design of new chemicals, and the safety and sustainability assessment phase that proposes 5 assessment stages to evaluate the safety and sustainability of your new or existing chemicals. So once you have your SSBD assessment score, and if you want to improve the safety or sustainability of your chemical, you can consider redesigning them. And that is why the first phase can either be called design phase or redesign phase. So following the SSBD framework, your chemical goes through a series of steps beginning with a simple hazard assessment and ending with an analysis of socio-economic sustainability. This assessment leads eventually to an SSBD score or level. How this final result will be presented? This is something that still needs to be defined by the Commission. Well, in the European Union, we witnessed a huge interest in the SSBD topic. The chemical industry started to test this framework in order to check if it is easily applicable, especially because it covers the whole path of the chemical from upstream to downstream. IFRA, with the help of its members, decided to take part of this testing phase through the SSBD subgroup composed by safety and sustainability experts from our member companies. As a fragrance mixture, is usually composed by several ingredients, we opted for testing the framework on one ingredient, methyl salicylate. Why methyl salicylate? The Commission at that time suggested to assess a substance of concern. Methyl salicylate is one. Methyl salicylate is also widely used. It is naturally present in many plants but can also be produced synthetically. It is used in different final consumer products in different concentrations. So in order to be as representative as possible of the fragrance value chain, we considered for our case study 2 different origins of the methyl salicylate, so natural and synthetic, and 2 different uses, a cosmetic and a detergent. We therefore went through the different steps of the safety and sustainability assessment of the SSbD framework, from the hazard assessment to the environmental sustainability assessment. The social and economic sustainability assessment was not considered for this case study, especially because it was still not developed enough by the Commission, and it was making the case study more difficult to undertake. The steps get more complicated as you progress through the SSbD assessment. Safety is well understood, or maybe better to say safety is more developed concept than sustainability. The results obtained at the end of our case study are shown in this table. Unfortunately, the time won't allow us to go through the details, especially because the interpretation of the results is very singular and specific to the information obtained from the suppliers, from the CPG companies, from the assumptions made when the data was not available. So the SSbD concept is ambitious. It goes far beyond existing chemical legislation, but the conclusion of applying it to our sector is that it still needs to be further developed in order to overcome the existing challenges and limitations. Though challenges are, for example, data gaps, confidentiality issues, lack of expertise, the oversimplification of certain characteristics, the uncertainties of some steps and their complexity, the lack of guidance in the framework, you have all the table here and all the conclusions. After the finalization of the case study, IFRA shared the results with the European Commission, with the Joint Research Centre, and started the engagement to ensure a future SSbD framework that is suitable to the fragrance industry, taking into consideration the sector's specificities. A webinar will also be organized to present the outcomes of the case study in more detail. In December, when the Commission will hold its final stakeholders workshop before the revision of the SSbD framework, IFRA might have the opportunity to present the case and call for applying a sector-specific approach that improves the communication between the different actors of the value chain and the exchange of data from upstream to downstream. A whole list of recommendations was also prepared and shared with the Commission, calling for an improved SSbD framework that actually fosters innovation instead of making it more difficult. It is not clear yet how the framework will be used once it's complete, but our engagement will continue and more meetings are to come, especially with the new Commission that will be working on the continuation of the CSS. That is all from me. I hope this presentation was useful. Thank you for your attention and wish you a pleasant rest of the conference.